Hello friends, welcome to today's lecture on question banks. We'll do question banks from UWorld. So let's start. In this question, a 68-year-old man comes to the office due to an enlarging mole on his right forearm. He is a retired farmer and he has significant amount of sun exposure over the course of his life. On examination, he has a black-brown macular lesion on the dorsum of his right forearm and it measures approximately 1 centimeter in diameter. Excisional biopsy is performed and histopathology reveals malignant melanoma. Immunohistochemical analysis indicates that the malignant cells have decreased integrin expression. These cells are most likely to exhibit poor adhesion to which of the following components of the extracellular matrix. So simply this question is asking that to which of the components is integrin attached with. So integrin attaches with extracellular matrix mainly with collagen, laminin and fibronectin. So the answer to this question will be fibronectin. So the cellular adhesion is the means by which one cell binds to another cell surface or matrix. The integrins are a family of transmembrane protein receptors that interact with the extracellular matrix by binding to specific proteins, as I told you earlier, collagen, fibronectin and laminin. Other adhesion molecules classes include the cadherins, selectins and Ig superfamily members. Fibronectins are large glycoproteins which are produced by the fibroblasts and some epithelial cells. Fibronectin binds to integrins, matrix collagen and glycosaminoglycans, serving as a mediator of cell adhesion and migration. Differential expression of integrin subtypes affects adhesion properties of individual cells and correlates with malignant behavior in a number of tumors including melanoma. Other options were incorrect as in choices A and E. The intercellular domains of the integrins interact with a number of structural proteins including microfilamentous actin within the cytoplasm and intermediate filaments keratin. However, the extracellular domains do not interact with these structures and therefore the answer were incorrect. In choices C and D, hyaluronic acid is a glycosaminoglycan that contribute to water retention in the extracellular matrix and determines the stiffness of the matrix. Keratin sulfate is a glycosaminoglycan in the extracellular matrix that may play a role in maintaining type 1 collagen fibril organization in a number of tissues like cornea. However, neither of this is a ligand for integrins and thus they were not correct. Adhesion of cells to the extracellular matrix involve integrin-mediated binding to fibronectin, collagen and laminin. Differential expression of integrin subtypes affects adhesion properties of individual cells and have been found to correlate with malignant behavior in a number of tumors. This picture demonstrates how integrin and fibronectin is attached to one another. This blue structure demonstrates integrin that is attached to this green structure fibronectin and then it is further attached with collagen. This is the extracellular matrix, plasma membrane here and then in the intracellular we can see actin. Now in this question a 67-year-old man comes to the office due to severe fatigue. He cannot eat as much as he used to and lost 10 kg. The physical examination shows mucosal pallor, hepatomegaly and massive splenomegaly. Evaluation reveals a gain of function of mutation of non-receptor tyrosine kinase protein, that is a JAK protein, in hematopoietic cells leading to persistent activation of signal transducers and activators of transcription STAT proteins. So this is some mutation leading to activation of JAK-STAT pathway. This patient is most likely suffering from which of the following disorders? So the disorder that is associated with this JAK-STAT pathway is primary myelofibrosis. Thus the answer is E. The chronic myeloproliferative disorders are bone marrow diseases which is characterized by overproduction of myeloid cells. Primary myelofibrosis is caused by atypical megakaryocytic hyperplasia, which stimulates fibroblast proliferation, resulting in progressive replacement of the marrow space by extensive collagen deposition. In the early stages, there is marrow hypercellularity with minimal fibrosis, but as the disease progresses, there is pancytopenia, and there can be hepatomegaly and massive splenomegaly, which may develop because of the loss of bone marrow hematopoiesis being compensated for extramedullary hematopoiesis. The peripheral smear characteristically shows teardrop-shaped RBCs, which is known as dacrocytes, and nucleated red blood cells. With the exception of chronic myelogenous leukemia, the chronic myeloproliferative disorders, especially the polycythemia vera, frequently harbor a mutation in the non-receptor cytoplasmic tyrosine kinase, that is Janus kinase 2 or JAK2 protein. This mutation results in constitutive tyrosine phosphorylation activity and constituently in the cytokine-independent activation of the signal transducers and activators of STAT pathway. Once they are activated, STAT protein translocate to the nucleus and promote transcription. A JAK2 inhibitor like ruxolitinib has been approved for the treatment of primary myelofibrosis. Other options are incorrect, as in choice A. The acute promyelocytic leukemia has mutation in T1517, which leads to the formation of fusion gene between the promyelocytic leukemia and the retinoic acid receptor alpha genes. In choice B, the chronic lymphocytic leukemia is a lymphoproliferative disorder involving B lymphocytes. The most significant lab finding is smudge cells on peripheral blood smear, and the majority of cases exhibit increased expression of the proto-oncogene BCL2, which is a most common finding that occur in follicular lymphoma. In other choices, as in C and D, the high-grade non-Hodgkin lymphoma is associated with T814 translocation, which involves the c-Myc gene and is most common in Burkitt lymphoma, which is associated with Epstein-Barr virus and has a classical starry sky histological appearance. Mantle cell lymphoma is a low-grade non-Hodgkin lymphoma which is characterized by mutation in T1114, which leads to cyclin D1 overexpression. Now, this table presents the chronic myeloproliferative disorders as chronic myelogenous leukemia, essential thrombocytosis, polycythemia vera, and primary myelofibrosis. Now, except chronic myelogenous leukemia, all the other three, that is essential thrombocytosis, polycythemia vera, and primary myelofibrosis, are all related to JAK2 mutation. There is this first one, the chronic myelogenous leukemia, is associated with mutation in Philadelphia chromosome, that is T922 mutation, which leads to formation of BCR ABL fusion proteins. The diagnostic features for CML is constitutional symptoms like fatigue, weight loss, excessive sweating, splenomegaly, and leukocytosis with marked left shift, which will be showed by increase in bands, and also there will be myelocytes and metamyelocytes. In essential thrombocytosis, the diagnostic features is hemorrhagic and thrombocytic symptoms like easy bruising, microangiopathic occlusion, thrombocytosis, and megakaryocytic hyperplasia. In polycythemia vera, the diagnostic features include pruritus, erythromelalgia, splenomegaly, thrombotic complications, and erythrocytosis with thrombocytosis. In primary myelofibrosis, the diagnostic features are severe fatigue, splenomegaly that often causes early satiety or abdominal discomfort, hepatomegaly, anemia, and bone marrow fibrosis. Now let us study some few points about receptor tyrosine kinases. The ligands that bind to receptor tyrosine kinases include insulin, insulin-like growth factor 1, epidermal growth factor, platelet-derived growth factor, and fibroblast growth factor. They all act on the RAS MAP kinase pathway. Now, this is a scheme representing the functioning of receptor tyrosine kinase. In this, as the ligand gets attached to the receptors, the two receptors come close to one another and gets autophosphorylated, which then activates the SH2 adapter protein that gets attached to the receptor and further activates the RAS, which is a protein with GTPase activity, and it converts GTP to GDP, and then it further activates the MAPK, which is a downstream signaling pathway. Now about the non-receptor tyrosine kinases. So the ligands that bind to non-receptor tyrosine kinases are immunomodulators like interleukin 2 and interleukin 6, prolactin, thrombopoietin, erythropoietin, growth hormone, and the granulocyte colony stimulating hormone. They act on the JAK-STAT pathway. Now this scheme presents the functioning of non-receptor tyrosine kinase. Here, when the ligand binds to the erythropoietin receptors, there it leads to activation of the cytoplasmic tyrosine kinase, that is the Janus kinase. The name, the non-receptor tyrosine kinase, is just because of this reason only, that the receptor is not the tyrosine kinase receptor but the erythropoietin receptor, that then further lead to activation of the cytoplasmic tyrosine kinase, that is JAK. So when ligand attached this non-receptor tyrosine kinase, there is some conformational changes that occur, and this attracts the JAK to the intracellular component of the non-receptor tyrosine kinase receptor, and once the JAK activates, it phosphorylates the receptors and it then attracts the STAT protein, which stands for signal transducer and activator of transcription. STAT is then phosphorylated and is translocated into the nucleus, where they alter the transcription. Now in this question, an 8-year-old boy with a 1-week history of fever and throat pain is brought to the emergency department with severe dyspnea, tachypnea and inspiratory stridor. He has also experienced worsening dysphagia with solid foods over the last 2 weeks. Lab evaluation reveals many immature hematopoietic cells, that is blasts, in the peripheral blood smear. The neoplastic cells causing this patient's condition normally give rise to which of the following? So the key points here: the inspiratory stridor and the worsening dysphagia with solid foods, and demonstrates that there is some mediastinal mass that have led to these two problems, and with the evaluation of the peripheral blood smear revealing the blast cells concludes the neoplastic cells of this patient's condition to be T lymphocytes. Now the blast cells in the peripheral blood are strongly suggestive of leukemia. The most common pediatric malignancy is acute lymphoblastic leukemia. The neoplastic cells of ALL arise from lymphocyte precursors that are of either pre-B or pre-T lineage. Clinical manifestation of ALL include fever, fatigue, pallor, petechiae, and bleeding. Leukemic spread can cause lymphadenopathy, hepatosplenomegaly, and bone pain. T-cell ALL is more likely to present with a large anterior mediastinal mass that can compress the great vessel, causing superior vena cava syndrome. The mediastinal mass can also compress the esophagus, causing dysphagia, while compression of the trachea may lead to dyspnea and stridor. This patient's clinical presentation is therefore more suggestive of T-cell ALL, which most commonly affects males in late childhood, though through young adulthood. Because pre-B and pre-T lymphoblasts can look identical on peripheral blood smear, immunohistochemical staining is used to differentiate the two cell lineages. Both lineages contain TDT, an antigen of lymphocyte precursors. Cell surface markers for pre-B lymphoblasts include CD10+, CD19+, and CD20+, while pre-T lymphoblasts express CD2+, 3+, 4+, 5+, 7+, and 8+. Other options were incorrect, as in choice A. B-cell ALL is responsible for approximately 70 to 80% of all cases of ALL, whereas T-cell ALL accounts only for 15 to 17% of all cases of ALL. B-cell ALL manifests with fever, malaise, bleeding, bone pain, and hepatosplenomegaly. Generally, B-cell ALL is not associated with symptoms of mediastinal compression, and thus it was not the answer. In choice C, acute myeloid leukemia, subtypes M4 and M5 arise from monocytic precursors. This is rarely seen in children and usually does not present as a mediastinal mass, though extramedullary disease is not an uncommon finding and thus it was not appropriate. The rare AML M6 subtype arises from erythroid precursors and typically affects elderly patients and thus it was not the answer. And the rare AML M7 type represents or arises from primitive megakaryoblast and is associated with 122 translocation and Down syndrome in children and thus was not appropriate. All in summary, acute lymphoblastic leukemia is the most common malignancy of childhood. B-cell ALL is responsible for approximately 70 to 80% of all cases of ALL, whereas T-cell ALL accounts only for 15 to 17%. T-cell ALL often presents as a mediastinal mass that can cause respiratory symptoms, dysphagia, or superior vena cava syndrome. In this question, a 37-year-old man is being evaluated for non-tender cervical lymphadenopathy that he first noticed while shaving. A biopsy is performed and a low magnification image of the lymph node histology is shown below. So the cytogenetic analysis would most likely demonstrate which of the following patterns. The answer will be A, BCL2 overexpression, as the lymph node biopsy reveals follicular lymphoma. So this slide demonstrates the lymph node biopsy indicating follicular lymphoma, where there is neoplastic small B cells that makes follicle-like nodules, and this lymph node actually consists of dozens of follicles, and the follicles are in entire lymph node. We don't see any other structures. This therefore indicating that this has led to the disruption of the normal lymph node architecture. So the previous image demonstrates the classic histology of follicular lymphoma, that is a type of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Follicular lymphoma is a B-cell tumor that composed predominantly of centrocytes, that is small cleaved cells, and fewer number of centroblasts, that is large non-cleaved cells. At low magnification, aggregates of packed cells that were showed by arrows obscured the normal lymph node architecture. The T14-18 translocation is found in 80 to 90% of follicular lymphomas. The result is overexpression of the anti-apoptotic gene product, that is BCL2, which leads to formation of tumor. The other choices were incorrect, as in choices B and D. BCR-ABL rearrangement due to translocation of 922 is found in chronic myelogenous leukemia. CML is a myeloproliferative disorder, not a lymphoproliferative disorder, as shown in the image above or in the previous slide. The BCR-ABL perfusion gene directs the synthesis of a constitutively active protein, tyrosine kinase, that affects multiple intracellular signaling pathways leading to uncontrolled proliferation, and hence the answer was incorrect. In choice C, all Burkitt lymphomas are associated with translocations of c-Myc gene on chromosome 8 onto the heavy IgG heavy chain region of chromosome 14, that is translocation of 814. And the Burkitt lymphoma histologically present as a diffuse population of medium-sized lymphocytes with a starry sky appearance, and thus it was incorrect. In choice E, overexpression of N-Myc proto-oncogene protein is common in neuroblastoma and small cell carcinoma of the lung, hence it was incorrect. All, in summary, follicular lymphoma is characterized by aggregates of packed follicles that obscure the normal lymph node architecture. 90% of patients with follicular lymphoma have the T1418 translocation, which cause overexpression of anti-apoptotic BCL2 protein. So in this question, a 59-year-old man comes to the office due to 3 months of progressive fatigue and back pain. The back pain occurs mainly with movement or positional changes. Physical examination reveals midline tenderness over the middle and lower back. Lab evaluation shows a hemoglobin level of 10.2 gram per deciliter and serum calcium level of 12 mg per deciliter. A bone marrow aspirate is performed and the histopathologic findings are shown below. So, the patient is at greatest risk for which of the following? The answer is A, amyloidosis. So, this patient's bone marrow aspirate shows numerous plasma cells which can be identified by abundant basophilic cytoplasm and well-developed Golgi apparatus as showed by perinuclear paleness and clock phase peripheral chromatin. A bone marrow sample with greater than 10% plasma cells is strongly suggestive of multiple myeloma, a clonal plasma cell malignancy. In multiple myeloma, neoplastic plasma cells replicate in bone marrow and choke out normal hematopoiesis, leading to normocytic normochromic anemia due to impaired erythropoiesis and increased risk of infection because of impaired B-cell lymphopoiesis. They secrete osteolytic cytokines that lead to bone pain, osteolytic radiolucent bone lesions, and hypercalcemia. They produce large quantities of monoclonal immunoglobulin, that is paraprotein, which is composed of heavy and light chains, example IgA, or light chains alone. Light chains can deposit in the renal tubules, leading to light chain cast nephropathy, which is usually characterized by mild renal insufficiency and waxy laminated urinary cast, that is Bence-Jones. Light chains can also form insoluble fibrils and deposit in major organs, leading to amyloid light chain amyloidosis. This can contribute to the already elevated risk of renal failure as well as heart failure and neurologic dysfunction. Amyloidosis can often be identified on biopsy using hematoxylin and eosin stain, that is eosinophilic extracellular deposits, or Congo red stain viewed under polarized light, and it appears to be apple green by refringence. Other options were incorrect, as in choice B. Cardiac tamponade can be associated with some neoplasm, example lung, breast, Hodgkin disease, or melanoma due to tumor invasion of the pericardium. Does not typically cause pericardial disease, therefore it is not associated with cardiac tamponade. In choice C, hepatic failure is most often linked to viral hepatitis or alcohol abuse. It occasionally occurs due to malignant infiltration of the liver with metastatic breast cancer, small lung cancer, melanoma, or lymphoma. Risk of hepatic failure with is low. Amyloidosis is far more common. Hence, it was not the answer. In choice D, hyperthyroidism is most often due to Graves' disease, which is an autoimmune disorder that generates TSH receptor antibodies. It can also be seen with medications like lithium and tumors that produce TSH, example pituitary adenoma. is not linked to hyperthyroidism and hence it was not correct. In choice E, meningeal carcinomatosis is a rare condition associated with some solid tumors, example breast cancer, lung cancer, melanoma. Tumors spread to the leptomeninges can cause mass effect, example headache, hydrocephalus, and cranial or spinal nerve dysfunction and focal neurologic issues. Does not typically spread to the leptomeninges and hence it was not correct. In choice F, atraumatic splenic rupture can cause or can occur with leukemia and lymphoma due to massive splenomegaly from extramedullary hematopoiesis and or underlying tumor infiltration. does not typically cause significant extramedullary hematopoiesis and usually replicates in the bone marrow, not the spleen. Hence, it was not correct. Educational objective. Amyloid light chain amyloidosis is associated with multiple myeloma and other monoclonal plasma cell dyscrasias due to the deposition of insoluble immunoglobulin light chain fibrils in major organs, example kidneys, heart, neurologic system. A bone marrow sample with greater than 10% plasma cells is strongly suggestive of multiple myeloma. Now this slide represents the apple green birefringence appearance of the amyloidosis when stained with Congo red and viewed under polarized light. This is all for today. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please do subscribe and share.